Hello, everyone. My name is Finn. I'm from the SDM Foundation, and today I will be explaining what an audio device is on your computer. So, an audio device is essentially something that can either input or output audio from your computer. So, whether you're playing a YouTube video, music, if you're recording something, an audio device would manage that. So, that could be a headphone jack, that could be Bluetooth, that could be a pair of speakers that you plug in, just anything that is designed to carry audio either in and out of your computer. I'll also be going through some troubleshooting techniques on how to better either troubleshoot audio issues you're having. So whether or not you can hear the audio or if it's not playing out of the right place that you want it, I'll be going through some things on how to do that. I'll also be showing you how to troubleshoot some video issues you're having. So if you're getting no video signal in your monitor, what the different types of video cables are, stuff like that. Um, yeah, so let's get into it. All right, so an audio device, like I said before, is essentially a way of playing audio out of your computer. So, for example, if you have a USB headphone plugged in and a wired headphone, each of those in and of itself is a separate audio device that you can then manage in your computer. So I can have a Bluetooth speaker connected and a pair of wired headphones connected. Each of those is its own separate audio device, and I can then select which device I would like to use to play my audio through. So if I want to play music out of my Bluetooth speaker and not out of my headphones, I can select that and vice versa. All right, so one common example is a pair of wired headphones. They're very universal. You can see them almost anywhere. For example, over here, it just uses this type of connector, very small. Some professional headphones have a little bigger jack, but for most cases, you're going to be using this to play your audio. And like I said, you would just select your built-in computer's headphone. So it would say either your specific audio driver that you're using, or it would say external headphone. All right, so the next type of common audio device can be a Bluetooth device. So Bluetooth is a wireless device that can connect to your device. So whether it is a pair of headphones, a pair of speakers, or maybe even a microphone, you have to make sure that those peripherals are in fact Bluetooth. You can't just connect Bluetooth to any sort of headphone. They have to be a Bluetooth product. And you can access this in settings, and usually a pair of headphones or speaker will have a sync button. So you just click that and you would go into your settings and connect your Bluetooth speaker that way. Another common type of a speaker and or headphone connection is USB. So in a USB device, the actual sound processing unit or the actual processor for that sound is on the USB device rather than inside your computer as opposed to a normal pair of headphones. So what this does and what this is really good for is that if your headphone jack isn't working in your computer, the USB can still work because you're not using your computer's audio device, you're using the USB one. It is very straightforward. You just plug in your USB port and then select it in the settings. I really prefer USB headphones as it's very easy to connect, but they can be a little bit more pricey. So this is what a USB connection looks like on your computer. You'll see that little sort of tree looking thing between or on your USB port. And if you notice where the arrows are pointing, so they would plug in there and not below where that headphone port is. All right, so here we have an audio interface. An audio interface is another type of playback device, but an audio interface provides a lot more customization on how you want your audio playing in or out. So typically, an audio interface will have audio input in as well as an audio output. They are used a lot in the recording industry, like I said, because you can have your speakers and your mics plugged in. The audio inputs on an interface are either a 1/4-inch cable or an XLR, which is what a lot of microphones use and have to be connected by. You can have a lot more control with your audio playback. So if you notice in this picture, you can see a little monitor knob. That is, you can really kind of fine tune how loud you want something. They offer the highest sort of audio quality, and they offer, like I said, inputs and outputs, so you can have headphones and speakers plugged into them at the same time while having a mic plugged in. But they can be a little bit pricey, depending on which one you get. So, like I said before, sort of all audio devices have their own benefits and drawbacks. So you kind of want to be answering or asking yourself these questions when you're choosing an audio device. So how do you want to be listening to audio? What environment will you be in? And will you be out and about a lot? Will you be on the go? Will you not be at your desk sitting down? And also, what is your budget? A pair of headphones can range from a few dollars to several $1,000s. So it's really important to figure out how much you want to be spending. I'd say typically a really good pair of professional grade wired headphones cost somewhere around $100. But you can also get wired earbuds for maybe $10 or $15. So I would look in that sort of $20, $40, $50 range if you're trying to find maybe wired headphones. Bluetooth can sort of be the same. A really nice pair of Bluetooth headphones can be like maybe $300, $200. Sometimes you could find them for maybe like $150. Whereas maybe a speaker is probably around like $50 or $60 for Bluetooth. If you're on the go a lot and you are kind of not worried, but you don't like having a lot of cables around you and stuff like that, I would definitely suggest Bluetooth because, like I said, they connect wirelessly. Having a wired headphone or even an audio interface just has a lot of wires. So if you don't like a lot of cable management or having a lot of wires, I would definitely suggest Bluetooth. I would suggest using an audio interface if you're trying to get into music production. Like I said, because they have inputs and outputs. You can also, a lot of industry standard headphones and speakers have the right ports for them that audio interfaces will have. But if you're buying an audio interface, you're just going to be buying the interface and not any of the headphones, cables, or speakers that you would need to connect to it. Typically, you can find an interface, I'd say, for around $100, $150. You can even find some for that are like maybe $1,000. But like I said, you will need to have your own pair of wired headphones that have the right connector or the right kind of speaker cable if you want to plug in a speaker. All right, so here we are on Mac. Now to access our audio settings on Mac, I'm going to be clicking on the top here. Now here we have our sound. We can adjust our volume. Now if we click this arrow here, we can see that we have different audio devices. So we can either have sound playing on our Mac mini speakers, so the speakers directly built into the Mac. We have our AT2020, so this microphone also has a headphone out port. We have our monitors, so if we are playing audio through HDMI, we can play the audio through the monitor, so either with a speaker port or if the monitor has a built-in speaker. And we have our Bose Mini SoundLink, which is my Bluetooth speaker that's currently connected. I'm going to click on sound settings, and here we just have the same options, output and input. You can see if I talk, this microphone kind of goes up because I'm using the AT2020 right now. Output, we can set our panning, which is if we want our audio played more on the left side or the right side. We have our notifications right here. Now, if we click this little blue icon, we can see our Bluetooth settings. So I'm going to click Bluetooth settings. In here, we have all our Bluetooth devices. So I have my speaker playing audio. One good thing about Bluetooth is that you can play audio through Bluetooth. So I can connect here. Any other speaker that I would sync would appear down here. All right, so we are here on our Windows machine. Now to access the sound options, I'm going to go down here on the bottom right next to this Wi-Fi and battery icon. I'm going to click it. Now here we have our sound. So just like Mac, I can slide to adjust the output volume, whatever I'm playing. And if I click here, I can select a sound source. So either the headphones or the laptop speakers. I can also access this mixer, so any apps that I have open, I can sort of adjust the individual volume. So if Camtasia is too loud, I can adjust that. If my browser is too loud, I can adjust that as well. I can also click the little gear icon, which will then bring up my volume and also the mixer like before. I can set which output device I want and which input device I want. So if I want a different microphone, I can select that here. All right, so here we have our Android phone, and I'm going to be showing you how to switch the audio device on your Android phone. So here we have some music, so I'm just gonna play it. Obviously you can hear it. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna adjust the volume, and we have these little notifications that appear. This top one just basically mutes and unmutes your ringer. This slider changes the volume. And if we click this little icon here down at the bottom, we can adjust further settings. So for example, our volume here, we have our phone volume, our alarm and notifications. Now here where it says play YouTube on phone speaker, I'm just going to tap that. We have our phone speaker, and now if we have any headphones plugged in or any other like Bluetooth device, you'd click pair new device right there, and then you click done. There you go. All right, so here we are on an iPhone, and I'm going to show you how to choose your audio device when playing audio. So I'm just on YouTube right now, but you can really do this one either in any app, either it's Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud. I just happen to be using YouTube right now. So here we have our audio. So it's playing through here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to swipe down, and then this little button on the top right, you're going to see it's a little triangle with kind of like circles around it. I'm going to click it. Now here I have separate audio devices that I could choose from. So I just know what I could do is now if I go back, they're connected to my AirPods. And now they're playing out of my AirPods. If I want to change that, I can have it playing out of my phone. Phone button. They're back to playing out my phone. If I want them out loud, I just put it in the speaker. But yeah, and you can have multiple devices. If I were to plug in a headphone cable, it would also appear there, and then I could select it. And what's nice about this feature is that it's very simple. You just click two buttons, and you could, whether or not things are connected to your phone, you could still choose what output they're playing out of. All right, so here we are on our Apple device, on our iPhone. Now to access Bluetooth, there are a few ways I can do this. Either you can go to settings, so you click settings, and then you click on Bluetooth. Here we have a list of everything that my device has connected to. I can toggle on and off Bluetooth right here. And any new devices will appear on the bottom. And I would simply just click to connect to one of them. I can also swipe down on the top right of my phone. And this little blue triangular button, I'll tap and hold. And here we also have our Bluetooth settings. And I can access Bluetooth settings by clicking that as well. All right, so here we are on the Android phone. I'm just going to be going through sort of Bluetooth settings here. One way to access Bluetooth is to swipe down. Here we have that little kind of tooth icon. That is our Bluetooth icon. I'm going to toggle it on and off. When it is gray, it means that Bluetooth is off. When it is blue, it means it's on. Just make sure that Bluetooth is on when you are trying to connect or are using a Bluetooth device. Also, if we go into settings, I'm going to click on connected devices. In here, we have our Bluetooth settings. Nothing is paired right now, but I can click on pair new device. And any speaker that I have in pairing mode will appear here. So we have some right here right now. If I tap on one, it will try to connect. Make sure you know your speaker name before you connect. So it would say, in my case, it might say Finn's Bluetooth headphones, or the name of the speaker when you bought it. All right, so here we are moving on to some troubleshooting techniques. So I'm just going to be going through a few simple ways to sort of try to fix audio not playing on your computer correctly. I would say the first thing to do is just check which audio device you have selected. That can be very simple to kind of overcome. For example, if you're playing audio out of your wired speakers or wired headphones when you're trying to play them out of your Bluetooth headphones, that's a very common issue and can be fixed very quickly. So like I said, just checking which audio device you have selected. Also adjusting your volume on your device. So like on a phone, pressing the up and down volume. Also muting or unmuting can help. Like I said, maybe you just have the volume too low or you have the volume muted. Unplug and plug your peripherals back in. So if you have a pair of wired headphones, just unplug them, plug them back in. Usually they could not be seated correctly and not be plugged in all the way. So just make sure it's completely all the way in, nice and fit. Same thing with USB. Sometimes it could not be plugged in fully, so just unplug it, plug it back in, make sure it's in completely. So here's just what a headphone jack looks like on a computer. It'll have a little headphone symbol and a little kind of circular hole on it. So you would plug in your pair of wired headphones or speakers there. Here I'm just adjusting the volume on the iPhone. So I'm just pressing the volume down and volume up buttons. As you can see, there's a little little white slider that slides up and down as I'm pressing the volume up and down buttons. All right, so here we are on a iPhone. There's a little switch there, if you can see, and I'm just kind of switching that switch back and forth. If you switch it and you see red, that means your volume or your ringer is muted. Sometimes audio doesn't really play, or even you're getting your phone call noises if that ringer is muted. So try to mute it and unmute it to see if your audio is still playing. Same thing on Android. Android phones can be very different from each other. So just make sure you know where the volume buttons are. On this phone that I was using, it was kind of condensed into one button. So I was just pressing the top side of that button and the bottom side of that button to adjust the ringer and adjust the volume. If you're using a Mac keyboard, the mute, volume up and down buttons will be on the top right of your keyboard. On Windows, I'm just using the Windows keyboard and pressing the volume mute, unmute buttons, and the volume up and down. It would be located on sort of the top left sort of area on your keyboard. Here's just a video of me unplugging and plugging back in my headphone connection, just to show you how I'm doing it, unplugging it and plugging it back in thoroughly. Same thing with the USB. I'm just unplugging it, plugging it back in, make sure it's fit nice and snug. All right, so I'm going to be going over some simple video troubleshooting techniques. This is another common issue that you might run into, so it's also important to address. First thing is I would say check your HDMI connection, or just cable connection as we know that. I'll go into later. There are different types of video cables. Also check to make sure that your monitor is turned on. And like I said, I'm going to be showing you how to do that in a little bit. So here we have our video cable. On the top is HDMI and on the bottom is something called display cable. Now HDMI is the most common video cable nowadays. It can also transfer audio. So if you have a TV, audio can also transfer through HDMI. It looks like that. You can see how at the top the two corners are kind of notched in. The second is called display. This is not as common, but is still used today for video, especially for computers. They will have something called the display port. And notice how it looks like an HDMI cable, but one of the corners is notched in instead of both. You will find that on older computers, there might be something called a VGA port on the bottom there. See how it's kind of like this rectangle with a bunch of little pins in it. So on the right, that is a VGA port, and it uses a VGA cable. You would on the top, you see the cable. You would unscrew those pins and then screw them back in once you plug it in. This is for a lot of older machines. So if you're using an older laptop or older computer, it would be something like this. There's a similar one called DVI. It looks very similar to this as well. Here is what a HDMI port will look like on your device. So in this case, we are using a Mac Mini. It just says HDMI, and then below it, you can see that kind of hole cut out, sort of like a rectangle with the bottom corners etched in. So kind of like a little bit like a trapezoid. We could see the HDMI cable there to the left also that is unplugged. It is very important to make sure that if you are on a desktop computer with a dedicated GPU, and you can tell that by if we look at this picture, if you look at the bottom, there are additional video ports there. Make sure that you plug your HDMI or any display cable into that. A lot of times people get mistaking it and plugging it into the motherboard. That's where the red X is, so sort of at the top. So if you're plugging in a video cable, make sure it is at the bottom and is sideways. You can also tell because the video card will have sideways connections. See how the ports are horizontal, whereas on the motherboard they are vertical. So if you have a dedicated graphics card, make sure it is plugged in there. If you don't have a dedicated graphics card, plugging it in the motherboard is okay. Here is a video of me just unplugging and plugging back in the HDMI cord. Just make sure that it is plugged in firmly and nice and fit. Here's also a video of me turning on and off monitor again. It will usually be on the bottom right of your monitor, so just double check that it is turned on. You'll see a LED indicator. One other important thing to understand is the settings within the monitor itself. So if I turn off the monitor and turn it back on and press the keyboard button to turn on the computer, with these buttons down here, now every monitor is different, it might be something else, but I could adjust the brightness here. Sometimes it might be too low or too high. I can also adjust some other settings here using these buttons to toggle between each setting. Or I can even change the input. So if I tap this button, it'll switch to the other input within this monitor. It's off right now because there's nothing on the other input. There's only one cable going into it so far. But yeah, if you're not getting video, make sure that you have the right input selected on your monitor. It'll be different for each monitor, but it should have a series of buttons that say either input or a little image with like a square and an arrow. All right, so here's an introduction on audio and video on your computer. There are a lot of things you could do with audio on a computer. You could change the speakers, you could change the headphones, different ways of troubleshooting. You can connect multiple devices, you can connect an audio interface. So uh, it's a very broad horizon on what you could do with audio, but hopefully this was just an introduction on how to better understand just the concepts on how audio plays out of your computer, and as well as video. Just what an HDMI cable is, what different display cables are, just simple troubleshooting techniques on playing video on your computer as well. So hopefully that was a good introduction on those aspects on your computer. Thank you. So thank you for watching. I hope this video was informative and helpful. And if you have any questions, you can call, email, and set up an appointment with us. We do Zoom and in person. We are SDM Foundation in Melrose. So thank you so much again for watching, and I hope you learned something. Take care.